We really need to talk about this Leo full moon. So no, this is not your average full moon. This is a highly dynamic, supercharged full moon. And I can't wait to tell you all about why that is. But first, I really want to get into a little bit about what the Leo full moon represents. So the Leo full moon is always going to arrive amidst Aquarius season. And Aquarius is the cool, collected, objective, kind of techie sign of the zodiac. And the thing that's so interesting here is that the Leo full moon is always going to be ruled by the sun in Aquarius. So whereas you might get other full moons, such as, let's say, a full moon in Sagittarius. Well, Jupiter is going to be anywhere. Jupiter takes 12 years to go around the zodiac. So every single full moon in Sag or Pisces is going to have a completely different flavor. Whereas there's certain lunations that are going to have a very similar vibe every time, give or take the aspects involved. For example, the new moon in Cancer or the full moon in Cancer is always going to be ruled by that moon in Cancer. Here we have a similar story where the sun is always going to rule Leo. The sun is always going to be in Aquarius, the sign opposite. And why is that interesting to me? That's interesting because Aquarius is the sign where the sun holds its detriment. So there's something atypical, or there's something different about how the sun is going to find its way to shine in the sign of Aquarius. It means that there's a journey. It means that there's, I don't necessarily want to say a struggle, but there's a journey to figure out who you are while also sort of feeling like an outsider. So it's interesting because Leo and Aquarius, while they are different signs and they are opposite, they do also occupy the same pole. So there's a lot that these two share in common. Both of them are very confident, although they'll express it in very different ways. Aquarius and Leo know how to make the people around them feel very loved. Aquarians have a way of depersonalizing, but they have a way of making the other people that they are engaging with feel really celebrated and included. And it kind of stems from the fact that they have struggled to feel that way too. So they actually gain this very strong sense of confidence in themselves without necessarily seeking validation from others. Not that Leo needs validation. Leo, their whole mission is to be seen. And that's really something that we can all learn from Leo, is that, there is no better time to shine than now. It is your birthright. You are incarnating with these very special gifts and talents and insights, and they're meant to be shared. So the Aquarius full moon really reminds us that there is no better time than now. We're all works in progress. You don't have to have it all figured out. Quit overthinking it. That's something that Aquarius does really well, is they do tend to overthink, even though they'll tell you, you ask any Aquarian, they say, don't overthink it. You're overthinking it, because that's something that they have to tell themselves. So don't overthink it. There is no better time. The Leo full moon really insists that we not wait for perfection to arrive. Shine anyway. Life is simply too short not to revel in joy. Aquarius is a sign that really understands the hardships of being human. And what better contrast than to really just let it go, like be in the moment and just be yourself. Just be yourself. Quit giving a fuck. Like, who cares? Like, quit overthinking it. The Leo full moon really responds to Aquarius season with this like hearty belly laugh of live in the now. It's time to share your gifts, your ideas, your insights, your realness with the world. Because the sun holds its detriment in Aquarius, it really is about kind of finding your own path and really owning that. So the Leo full moon provides the contrast to Aquarius. Like, you don't need, like, it doesn't matter that, like, we're just, Aquarius is like, understands that there's nothing too special about me because I'm just like everybody else. Like we're all just like humans out here on this planet. Like we're all the same. And yet at the same time, you do have something special to offer. And we're able to, I was talking about this with a client earlier, actually, that it's a paradox because as human beings, our lives are seemingly insignificant. Like we're here and then we're gone in the blink of an eye. And at the same time, we have power to create ripple effects. Like we can live a meaningful life. We can impact other people. We can live in our heart, and that does something to our environment. So I think the notion that we're insignificant also gives us freedom to just really go for it and be yourself, because you have this one wild and precious life, as Sarah Wilson would say. So go forth and shine, because you only have this one. It all ends, So just go for it. So that's a little bit about the Leo full moon in general. But let's talk about why this Leo full moon is so important and dynamic. So this full moon is activating the eclipse degree from November 18th. So you remember that lunar eclipse conjunct Algol. It was at 27 degrees Taurus. We are at the halfway point between two eclipses. The next one will actually be at 10 degrees Taurus. But the one after that will also be at 25 degrees Scorpio. So what we have is we have these two eclipse points which are activating one another. Here we are at the halfway point, and this full moon is at 28 degrees. No, it is at 27 degrees. So yeah, it's at 27 degrees and 59 minutes of Leo. So it is exactly squaring that previous eclipse. So we're not only activating the eclipse, but we're kind of triggering both of them. We're casting a shadow onto the future, and we're kind of like in the wake of the previous one. So this full moon, this is a very important point in between eclipse cycles when the sun, and here in this case we have the sun and the moon, and the lunar nodes. So the transiting lunar nodes are also activating the eclipse at the exact same time. So if you have this degree hot in your chart, then you probably already know kind of a little bit about what's been going on, because it's been active in a dynamic, catalytic way since November. So this full moon offers a huge illumination of the crossroads before us. There's a definite fork in the road. And if you aren't aware of what the fork in the road is, not to worry. You probably don't have this degree as strong in your chart. And not every eclipse is going to activate your chart, and that is a good thing. So do not feel left out if this doesn't apply to you. But it does apply to everyone, because this is going to be playing itself on the world stage. We're already seeing it. Think back to what was going on during the last eclipse season. We had the Omicron surge. There's probably going to be developments here about that story, how we're supposed to adjust. I heard a really cool, I don't know if now is the time to really go into it, but I've heard some new information I need to digest about how viruses tend to mutate. And I'll say this for right now, I'm feeling kind of hopeful. So we'll see what kind of starts to develop more on the world stage around that story. I think also during the last eclipse season, we saw the themes around the January 6th investigation really start to heat up. Like they were happening quietly before, and then we started to hear a lot more news. Like there was like the Mark Meadows and everything kind of coming out around that time. And I had even forecasted on my website, and I believe on this channel as well, that I thought that eclipse would bring the Cheeto, Trump, back into the spotlight a little bit, because his midheaven is at 24 Taurus. So it's really close in there. And this full moon is actually on his ascendant. So he's back in the news. They just uncovered some boxes that should have been property of the White House at his Mar-a-Lago estate. So he's definitely back in the news. he does have Regulus rising, which means that he has some sort of cosmic protection, but I wonder how long that will last. One of my colleagues, her handle is astrology, and her name is Mo. She has done some really cool research here with comparing Trump's chart to the guy who just resigned from Meta, who said that he was gonna take his resources and start trying to influence elections. And when I read that, that made my skin crawl a little bit. And she did a nice job of correlating their charts and making some projections and predictions around that. So if you're interested, definitely check her out. Astrology, like as in Taurus, astral_Taurus, like Taurus. So definitely check out Mo's research on that. But it'll be interesting to see what this week, even leading up to the full moon, kind of digs up and unearths, because the nodes have been squaring and activating these eclipse degrees now for the week leading up to it. So this is a definite turning point in the eclipse story. So if you're unfamiliar, take a look at where you have Taurus and Scorpio in your chart. This is going to tell you a lot about the upcoming cycle of eclipses. We're going to be working with this polarity for the next 18 months. If you want a little bit more help looking at how this polarity is really active in your chart and what its message is, what these eclipses are going to be inviting into your world, definitely consider booking your next reading with me, and we can definitely go over that. So yeah, this full moon is not just a full moon. It's going to feel like a mini eclipse because it's kind of bridging these two eclipses and inviting a choice, inviting a very important choice. This is going to feel like a fork in the road. So as I was saying, this may not apply to everyone, but we'll be experiencing it in the world. If it's happening in your chart, oh, you know what it is. And that fork in the road may or may not be related to this whole Plutonian, I want to say a mess, but it's not really, with the Venus and Mercury retrogrades. And that story is kind of wrapping up here. So this full moon should be really illuminating for most everyone. But I hope it's here to free your heart, free your expression, and ultimately serve you in the highest. So that was your full moon and mini eclipse astrology shot of the day. Thank you so much for tuning in with me today. For more astrology in your world, you can connect with me on all platforms at Astro Catherine. You can also check out my website, catherineurban.com, where you can book your year ahead reading and we can see what 2022 has in store for you. Bye.